Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the Chief Secretary.
washed in blood and corruption. Fire that only kindness can cool. To hear yet turn and walk. We stand with hands outstretched to show affection and boldly still the fear. Missing. Dying, disappearing everywhere. Who cares? Somebody better pray. Somebody better pray. There's a missing generation, and soon if we don't find them, they're surely going to find us one day. There's a missing generation, and soon if we don't find them, there'll be no generation to care. Look behind every sound of thunder. Search beneath every mound of dust. There you'll find the price for behavior, hiding from the cause of their hurts, with unshed tears and let's all reach out, snatch just one from their heart to one that's pure. Missing generation there. They are dying, disappearing everywhere. Better pray. Like a Jupiter back, sending music.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Shall we bow our heads in prayer? In heaven, our Father. You brought us into this world. And today we are here to begin this soil visage with bring health and happiness. And we give His name be glorified in Jesus' name.
Thank you. You may have your Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Tobago East, Councillor Dr. Agatha Carrington, Secretary of Health, Wellness and Family Development, in the Office of the Prime and Representative. Join me in welcoming her.
Doctor of Trinidad and Tobago, Chapter of the Tobago, Councillor Dr. Agatha Carrington, Secretary of Health, Wellness and Family Development, other esteemed secretaries and assistant secretaries of the Tobago House of Assembly, Assemblyman Watson Duke, Minority Leader, Tobago House of Assembly, and Area Representative for Roxboro de la Ford, Mrs. Diane Baker Henry, Administrator, Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development, Pastor Reynald Thomas, Near East District of Seventh-day Adventists, Ms. Ingrid Melvin, Chairman, Tobago Regional Health Authority, and other members of the TRHA Board of Directors. Mr. Sheldon Cyrus, Chief Executive Officer, TRHA, and other executive members of the TRHA and the team. Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman, UDICOT, and other members of UDICOT, members of staff of the Division of Health, Wellness, and Family Development, and the Tobago Regional Health Authority, members of NGOs, CBOs, FBOs, and other organizations, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, as I stand here to welcome you to my hometown and this Saturday ceremony, in the spirit of heritage, I can truly say that my heart is filled with philanthropic joy. And from the onset, let me place on the record my sincere gratitude to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the Chief Secretary and the Executive Council of the Tobago House of Assembly for the development taking place in Roxboro, and in particular Tobago East. Today heralds the beginning of a new era for the community of Roxboro and the people of the East. As I note the infrastructure development occurring in Tobago East, and in particular the village of Roxboro, I'm filled with a sense of peace and satisfaction. As my 3 children and the many children of Tobago East will have a chance to experience Roxboro in all of her glory. They will get to experience Roxboro as I knew Roxboro as a little girl. They will be able to boast of a purpose-built administrative complex and not having to go to Scarborough to access services from the licensing office, Registrar General, and other agencies. The children of today will be able to boast of a modern fire and police station, and soon, for the first time ever, a hospital in Roxboro. Modern healthcare right at our doorsteps. And I'm going to take you through a little memory lane journey with me. My earliest memories of Roxboro, growing up on the main road as a little girl. In my young eyes, Roxboro was a big city, a thriving town, and a commercial center. We had a commercial bank. I remember it being called the National Commercial Bank, and it was located under Miss Lucy's house. Roxboro had lots of groceries, stores, haberdasheries, and of course, a number of rum shops. In the days when telephone was a novelty, Roxboro had a fancy telephone exchange. And at one point in time, Roxboro had a funeral agency. And when we only had 3 choices for free secondary education, most of the children of Tobago East who were successful at the common entrance attended the Roxboro Composite School. Whenever electricity went, Mr. Nestor's Delco would trip on. Roxboro people, you all remember that? It would trip on and the restaurant would light up the main road in Roxboro. I remember that as a little girl. And I also remember the bacchanal and commerce I used to hear whenever the magistrate was sitting at the Roxborough Magistrate Court. And I also remember the times I would bounce up old ladies talking commerce at the courtyard after doing the business at the Inland Revenue Office and waiting to go to the health center. That is the Roxborough that I remember. Or even better yet, when the old ladies from near and far used to come to Roxborough to purchase fresh produce from our market and to get fresh meat from the abattoir. That is the Roxborough that I remember. Ladies and gentlemen, I also remember passing 100 steps from Union Street, coming through the bush to go to the library just across the road, and sometimes getting both because I would have come in the cocoa patch right here and thief the estate people cocoa. That is the Roxborough that I remember. And I also remember interacting with the nurses at the nurses' quarters and also purchasing stamps from the post office when I tried to get a pen pal. Notice I said tried, I wasn't successful. Strangely enough, I also have a memory of visiting a little baby being born at the Roxborough. I can't remember which baby it was, but I clearly remember that visit to the Roxborough maternity block. Roxborough to behold in the eyes of the investment in Roxborough made by the central government and the Tobago House of Assembly. My children, your children, and their children would experience Roxborough in all her glory again, and we must celebrate. But as we celebrate, I want to caution us all, especially those of us who are Roxborough people and Tobago East people, to not let the investment in physical infrastructure go to waste because we have not prepared ourselves to reap the benefit or unearth the potential in the development occurring in our constituency. There are opportunities for training. Educational courses can be readily accessed through online modes or in traditional classroom setting. Let us make full use of these opportunities provided by the government and the Tobago House of Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, Roxborough people, Tobago East people, the true transformation and development of Tobago East and Roxborough is not dependent on the buildings that we erect or the roads that we pave, but on the people of Roxborough and the people of Tobago East. It requires a transformation of the way we think, the way we view ourselves, and the way we view our constituency. It requires a change in mindset. It requires an attitude shift. And, Roxborough people, it demands an end to the blame game. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the Prime Minister again, the Chief Secretary, and the Tobago House of Assembly for the investment in my hometown, my village, my Roxborough, and helping her to become more beautiful again. Ladies of Tobago East, gentlemen of Tobago East of Roxborough, the ball is in our court. Government is doing its part. The Prime Minister has done his part. The Chief Secretary has done his part. I, to an extent, I have done my part. The ball is in all of our courts to ensure that we make this the best Tobago East and the best Roxborough it can possibly be. I thank you and may God continue to bless us all.
Thank you very much to our Honorable Minister for that warm welcome and also giving us that journey down memory lane, telling us what was happening in the cocoa patch. But it is indeed in our courts to really continue to develop this Tobago into what we would like it to be. As we continue with our greetings, I invite at this time Ms. Janelle Berkeley, the director at UDICOT, to deliver greetings. Please join me in welcoming her.
Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Honorable Kelvin Charles, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Honorable Ayana Webster Roy, Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Tobago East, Councillor Dr. Agatha Carrington, Secretary of Health, Wellness and Family Development, other esteemed secretaries and assistant secretaries of the Tobago House of Assembly, Assemblyman Watson Duke, Minority Leader of the Tobago House of Assembly and Area Representative for Roxboro, Dallaford, Mrs. Diane Baker Henry, Administrator, Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development, Pastor Reynold Thomas, Near East District of Seventh-day Adventists, Ms. Ingrid Melville, Chairman of the Tobago Regional Health Authority and other members of the TRHA Board of Directors, Mr. Sheldon Cyrus, Chief Executive Officer of TRHA, and other members of the Executive Management Team of TRHA, Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of UDICOT and other members of UDICOT, members of the staff of the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development and the Tobago Regional Health Authority, members of NGOs, CBOs, FBOs, and other organizations, specially invited guests, members of the media, all other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am delighted to extend greetings on behalf of the Urban Development Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago, the UDICOT. Ensuring equity and accessibility of all Tobagonians to quality health care is what makes the development of health, wellness, to the development of the labor force, of the labor force, including that of specialist contractors, be sourced from the village of Roxborough and environs. In instances where the immediate community is unable to fulfill this requirement, then labor and services would be supplemented from other communities across Tobago. We are pleased to inform that the construction of the Roxborough Hospital will be sustainable by optimizing environmental performance of building elements and strategies, including optimized site building potential, water conservation, energy conservation, enhanced indoor environmental quality, and optimized operation and maintenance strategies where possible. Provide responsible and sustainable for the hospital's operation systems, water systems, applicable requirements of health planning principles, infection control, and patient safety. Also, be equipped to provide modern state-of-the-art facilities designed to deliver high-quality healthcare services. Provide sufficient convenient parking for patients, visitors, healthcare providers with sensitivity to the needs of the elderly, those with, and allow for sufficient divine flexibility to be able to adapt to the changes in technology and change. And we
Thank us that insight into UDICOT's stake in this project, and we do hold you to your commitment that you would have given to us. As we continue, I invite at this time Councillor Dr. Agatha Carrington, the Secretary of Health, Wellness and Family Development, to deliver greetings. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rion George. Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Honorable Kelvin Charles, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Honorable Ayana Webster-Roy, Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Tobago East, my colleagues and esteemed secretaries here present, many of them, thank you for being here, Assemblyman Watson Duke, Minority Leader, Tobago House of Assembly, and Area Representative for Roxboro, Dallaford, Mrs. Diane, Pastor Reynold Thomas, Near East District of the Seventh-day Adventists, Ms. Ingrid Melville, our Chairman of the Tobago Regional Health Authority and other board members of the Tobago Regional Health Authority Board, Mr. Sheldon Cyrus, our CEO of the Tobago Regional Health Authority and other members of the Executive Management Team of the TRHA, Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of the UDCOT and other members of UDCOT, members of staff of the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development and the TRHA, members of NGOs, CBOs and FBOs and other organizations here present, specially invited guests, members of the media, all other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Further to our mandate, we decided on coming into office to realign and rebrand Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development. This was necessary as we sought to bring Tobago to aging in at the old to a Roxborough hospital of services, because no design that I know of on the island or on a facility we intend to build these two operations of our and secondary care services. Ladies and gentlemen, this administration in delivery mode. We plan through and with the support of my colleagues in the Executive Council to build a facility, former site, so that the health center could have remained there. We are located on Bay Road. We have health facilities, but following an order by the Honorable Prime Minister, drawing across the drawing at that time, Roxborough Hospital. This is a promise we made then, and this is a promise that will be realized. These efforts were followed up by several discussions. Engagement. Know we'll be able at East and Tobago deserve. We are also grateful for indeed my own colleagues, because we are delivering on the promises we have made. We continue to deliver more with less. We continue to provide for you a decentralized services by moving services from the center to the periphery. And so in East Tobago, for women, we have a brand new spanking pink room, only 2 months old, day by day. We look forward to further delivery because people...
Secretary of the THA, the Honorable Kelvin Charles, to deliver his remarks. Please join me in welcoming him to the lectern.
Thank you very much, Rowley, and member Diana Webster Roy, Deputy Chief Secretary and Secretary of Finance and the Economy, Assemblyman Joel Jack, my hard-working Secretary of Health, Wellness and Family Development, Councillor Dr. Agatha Carrington, other distinguished secretaries of my Executive Council, the Minority Leader, Mr. Watson Duke, Administrator in the Division of Health, Mrs. Diane Baker Henry, and we just heard a while ago how she was acclaimed, and authority, Miss Ingrid Melville, another Reynolds Cyrus. Thomas, my apologies. In another place, I would have said that I was trying to see if you were paying attention. Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Sheldon Cyrus, and other executive members, representatives of UDCOT, members of the various NGOs represented here, and in particular, President of the Roxboro Village Council, stakeholders, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It can be said that there are four basic and primary things the mass of a people in a society wish for. Environment. B, be able to work and provide for themselves. C, to have sound opportunities for their children. And D, to have access to good public health. Those were the words of one Nelson Mandela. But you know, I was talking to a friend of mine recently who said to me that he has changed his lifestyle and that he's refraining from eating meat. So he's now on a vegetarian diet. So I say, well, it is interesting because it is clear you have become a vegetarian for your health. And he said, no, I didn't do it for my health. I did it for the health of the chickens. Roxboro, it is a distinct honor and privilege to be here once more. Just last week, we were here for the commissioning of the Roxboro Administrative Complex, a modern and well-constructed facility which will significantly transform the day-to-day lives of those residing on this end of the island. Today, we are here again, not to celebrate the fruit, but to take planting of a new seed. A seed, when the fruit is ready, will also considerably improve the quality of the lives of the people of Roxboro and neighboring communities. After listening to Turn the Sun and to plant, talks of a new hospital in Roxboro have circulated through the air for some time. Now the moment is here to signal officially the physical start of the creation of this dream. In doing so, we are setting the scene for the beginning of another monumental chapter for the people of Roxboro and neighboring communities. This forms part of the administration's quest to ensure greater equity among Unions. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, that the lives of those living in the East must be consistent with those living in the West. It is our intention to strategically develop the Northeast while also respecting the features and attributes which have contributed to its identity and uniqueness. To the Scarborough General Hospital at Signal Hill is no longer a mandatory decision, an optimal one. Geographically, is in a prime to service both the communities of the North and those of the, in terms of physical, speak in terms of the new Roxborough Police Station. And so Roxborough, you are poised to become a hub, serving the broader network of North and East Tobago. These are just of this Roxborough, the ideal choice and location for our new project. New medical facility on the East. And of contradiction, I can bravely say that the establishment of this new hospital has the potential to forever change the face of healthcare in Tobago. This project, ladies and gentlemen, requires an estimated $60 million TT in expenditure and will comprise of an emergency room, various wards ranging from medical to surgical, a newborn nursery, an operating theater, and an isolation unit. The support services include medical imaging, a laboratory, a pharmacy, a dialysis unit, as well as physical and occupational therapy. This well-appointed facility, soon to be, will also house, I am advised, a helipad for emergency airlifts to Trinidad. It is safe to say that the needs of the people have been clinically examined, and we at the Tobago House of Assembly remain extremely dedicated to the enhancement of personal and community health. We are serious about the business of wellness and know that you deserve the best when it comes to health care. It is the foundation that is needed to attain every other resource as an individual and a society. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I stated recently that I aspire to be a man of my word. After all, in the context of a well-ordered and morally uplifting society, one's word is one's bond. From inception, the decentralization of primary health care delivery to the community level was part of our proposed plan of governance of Tobago. And certainly, the recently commissioned 2 months ago Pink Room at Louis d'Or bears eloquent testament to this fact. We know that working at the community level to promote health and wellness is of paramount importance. One of the popular requests from the community was that the health center and the hospital be located on the same compound. This will occur and will encourage greater synergy between the two. It is my hope that this increased synergy will be felt throughout the community by its residents. And I look forward, ladies and gentlemen, because you know there's a view that says dieting is the only game you win when you lose. I want to underscore the creation of the Roxborough Hospital, that the creation also increases the employment opportunities for the professionals within the medical sector of Tobago. There are many unemployed medical professionals who are desperately craving a chance to do what they have studied and what they love. So what we are also in fact doing is increasing the range of options available to them. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not believe in the erection of white elephants, nor do I live in an ivory tower. I believe in action and in delivery and in listening and tending to the pleas and needs of my people. Together, we must evolve and chart a new future, one which collectively benefits us and enables us all to become best versions of ourselves. Like many of you, I look forward with great anticipation to the completion of this hospital, knowing that its presence will greatly transform various communities and by extension the face of this island. I will be negligent, however, if I didn't take this opportunity to thank in particular the Honorable Prime Minister for his unstinting support for this project, and also to UDICAT for the very special role they have played in ensuring that this project gets off the ground, so that in 2.5 years we can be here to turn the sun to begin construction. Ladies and gentlemen, your government and your Tobago House of Assembly are working for you. Performance beats all talk, anytime and every time. I thank you.
Thank you very much to our Chief Secretary. I know he did deliver quite a few jokes, but I hope that you really got the salient points of what he said. And thanks for reiterating the THA's commitment to delivery and to see this project come to fruition. So at this time, we'll have a bit of entertainment, none other than persons from within this said community, members of the Roxboro Police Youth Club. So please join me in welcoming them as they deliver an item in dance for us. Just asking persons to just clear so that they can pass through. Thank you.
Lord, in this thy mercy day, every hour, one by one, to walk the heavenly road, walk the road. Walk the road, children of Zion. Walk the road, children, walk the road. walk the road. Children of Zion, walk the heavenly road. Walk the road, walk the road. Children of Zion, walk the heavenly road. Walk the road, walk the road. Children of Zion, walk the heavenly road. Walk the road, walk the road. Children of Zion, walk the heavenly road. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming to put on me lily white robe. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe. Now I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe. In a corner, I hear a groaning. In a corner, I hear a groaning. I said to wait, I am coming. I want to put on me lily white robe.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, you can do better than that. It is indeed our heritage time, and this is a snippet of what you would have been missing. And if you agree with me, they are masters of space, because I know they were limited with space, but they did give us a good performance. So give them a round of applause once again. As we continue with our ceremony at this time, I will invite none other than Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, who will deliver his address. Please join me in welcoming him.
Thank you very much. Ceremonies, the Chief Secretary, the Tobago House of Assembly, the Honorable Kelvin Charles, other members of the Tobago House of Assembly, Member of Parliament for Tobago East, the Deputy Chief Secretary, Mr. Joel Jack, Chief Executive, Reynald Thomas. That's probably with your name today. Pastor Reynald Thomas of the Seventh-day Adventist group, members of the media, I thank you very much for the to join you in this very momentous occasion. It is not every day I get the opportunity to be in Tobago with Tobagonians as you proceed to look after your affairs. But I accepted this invitation because I would have hated to be away when Roxboro was being identified as the latest area of healthcare infrastructure development. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to see what we are doing, not only in the context of Tobago and by extension further Trinidad and Tobago. The news today and in the last few days, maybe the last few months, last few years, is one of great concern to us, and that has to do with the level of criminal conduct in our country. The behavior of some of our young people. Frequently that comes with violence resulting in the extermination of life. And many of us cannot comprehend what is it that is driving this kind of behavior. And some of us, or some of those who comment while not being trained in universities, would tell you that it has to do with them, those young people who engage in that kind of conduct, not having a commitment to our future. And they react to live fast, die young, life means nothing if it does not mean a good life for me now. So there's no future in their planning, and therefore an early death to them is not shocking. I hate to think that that is true. But the experts are there to analyze that. But you also know a number of persons who've had probably good jobs in their working life, and at the end of the day, end of their working life, they would tell you they have nothing. And then you would wonder what happened to the idea of saving for a future. Is it that during the period of earning or doing well, that there was no consideration that there is a future that you need to save towards, or you need to keep in your planning so that when that time comes, that something is available? You would also know persons who would have lived comfortably in temporary situations, temporary buildings, rental arrangements, and you would ask, how is it that you have done so well for so many decades of your life, but you haven't built anything of your own? Is it that you didn't think that somewhere along the way you could have built something so that in your old age this problem is not with you? Is it that in these situations people live without a future in their planning? But ladies and gentlemen, those ideas, those experiences are not only at the individual level. The same concept of a future and the confidence in a future exists in the life of a nation. Only last we had a report from one of the three country is rated by three rating agencies, international independent agencies. One is Standard & Poor's, the other is Moody's, and the other is Fitch. Last week, we got the Standard & Poor's rating, assessment grade, that we had been up from negative to stable. For those who have been managing the country's affairs from 2015 to now, in stride, is not happy to be downgraded, and in the last 3.5 years, prevented us from a catastrophic downgrade. Downgrading by one notch was not catastrophic. Upgrading from negative to stable is good. But you would have taken note that there were some voices in the country who were extremely happy to hear that there was a downgrade. We have been downgraded. And some went as far as to say it's because of the government's mismanagement of the affairs of the country. Oh, it's because we don't know where we're going. We have no plan. Of course, as far as they're concerned, that suits their conversation, their agenda. You wouldn't have heard them say, but we have been upgraded from negative to stable. You wouldn't have heard them say that we came from a situation where we had lost $20 billion of our earnings. and had to manage this country over the 36-month period without that kind of money. But at the end of the day, we still maintained stability, and we still maintained enough of an economy doing well to be upgraded from negative to stable. But of course, yesterday, we got the ratings from Moody's. Because those who downgraded us one notch said the reason for that one notch downgrade is because their understanding of the production of oil and gas in the future be one of reduced production in oil and reduced production in gas. That would result in a reduction in government's revenues, and that would require some element of downgrading. That's what they saw. All that we have said and done about how we are addressing, eliminating this possibility of downgrade in volume of oil and gas didn't impress that side. And they said that issue would cause you to be downgraded. Moody's, on the other hand, said, we've seen what you've done with Petrotrin. We've seen what you've done, how you managed the economy. We've seen what you've done with respect to how you have taken steps to increase gas production and oil production, and we give you a favorable rating. And of course, we'll wait and hear what Fitch has to say. Because you see, the future in some people's eyes is one of the glass being half empty and we're heading for starvation. In other people's eyes is that the glass is half full, and if we keep on going in the right direction of filling the glass, it's going to overflow sometime in the future. So ladies and gentlemen, it all depends on what angle you look at it from. And it all depends on what you want out of the conversation. So we in the government, and those of us who have confidence in our country and in our future, we consistently spend the most money on education. It's the largest single allocation in the national budget, except for once in a while when national security responds to the criminal element, and we are in this situation where national security claim the largest chunk of our national budget. But historically, from day one, we allocate significant sums to education because that tells us that we have bounded faith in the future of our country and our families and our children. We invest in our children, education for the future. And most importantly, as you live your life, wherever you live it, we invest significantly in healthcare delivery because we expect to have a tomorrow. We expect to live to an old age. We expect to save our infants, and we expect to look after you in the prime of your life when illness strikes. We expect to treat with the preliminary situations and to ensure that the quality of life that you live improves, and that healthcare delivery is a major contributor to quality of life of every citizen. And that is why, notwithstanding whatever difficulty you might be going through, to invest as if we have a future. In the area of delivery, as I speak to you now, we have 5 hospitals on the government program at different stages of execution. The hospital in Couva of 2016, notwithstanding whatever else, delivered the building in 16. That hospital has begun to be open. Services in July, this month of July, we provide services there. Teaching would begin at that site. And as we proceed, services as we have outlined elsewhere as to what's going to happen at Couva, the Couva Hospital becomes the latest addition of the healthcare infrastructure in Trinidad and Tobago. A few months later, we expect to open for service the Point Fortin Hospital, which is on the verge of completion. It's now being outfitted, and very soon the people of Point Fortin will have a brand new hospital. A few months after that, construction should be completed in Arima, and the people of Arima would have the Arima Hospital. Today, we are turning the sod in Roxboro for the commencement of construction of a hospital. Small one, but hospital to provide healthcare services in the furthest eastern point of our nation here in Roxboro. And in a few weeks' time, I expect to do a similar thing in Sangre Grande, where we turn the sod for the commencement of construction of the Sangre Grande Hospital. If you look at the one at Point Fortin, furthest point to the southwestern corner of our nation, Sangre Grande, furthest point east of Trinidad, and Tobago, furthest point east of the nation, furthest point east in Tobago. So when you look at the infrastructure for healthcare delivery, it is our view that when we would have completed this phase of our infrastructural development in healthcare, our nation for the first time would have covered the entire population with the healthcare infrastructure that is required to bring healthcare delivery to every single citizen of this country. It would have taken us a while to get there, but we have been a people who've always seen ourselves with a future. So we moved from Port of Spain General to San Fernando to Mount Hope to Scarborough, building as we go along, building on that foundation. And this little country, you, regardless of what anybody else will tell you, there are tens of thousands of procedures that take place in the healthcare system. You never hear about the 9,999 that went well. But if one go wrong, you start to bad talk the country and bad talk the system and bad talk the nurses and bad talk the doctors. I can tell you, because I have seen them close up, we have some outstanding people in the healthcare system, among the nurses, among the doctors, and among the healthcare deliverers across this nation. That is not to say that things are perfect. That is not to say that there aren't shortcomings. That is not to say that we need to pull up our socks in many areas. But we do have a lot more than most people have in the world. You may not believe that. Go check it. Most people in the world do not have what you take for granted here for start. Most people of the world do not get healthcare delivery for free. Start with that. And most people, even when they pay significant sums, don't get what you get on the state's payroll in this country. But of course, we take it for granted, and instead of appreciating it, contributing to it, you spend your time bad-mouthing it and upsetting yourself as though somebody singled you out for bad treatment. When there's bad treatment, you identify it and we treat with it. And those persons who are responsible, you hold them accountable. But at the end of the day, those who go beyond the call of duty must be acknowledged for what they perceive, what they produce. Ladies and gentlemen, I just mentioned a number of hospitals. I didn't mention Port of Spain General, because all of you think that we have everything okay at Port of Spain General. We have just signed off on the construction of a multi-story building in Port of Spain General, our main hospital in our capital city, to build a multi-story building, 540 beds, because the existing multi-story building in the Port of Spain General Hospital, with approximately 400 beds, had been condemned as engineeringly unsound since 2009. 2009. The engineers warned this country that that building is dangerous. It's our main hospital with the largest number of beds. I can tell you, it's not easy at this point in time. We are managing the dollars by the hour, by the minute, but we are doing what has to be done because healthcare delivery is a priority in Trinidad and Tobago. As we open these facilities, whether it is Point Fortin, Couva, Arima, Tobago, every one that we open, over and above the construction cost of the facility, the operating cost is now what you have to observe. And you have to ensure that we are in a position to pay those who would operate those facilities. Because the nurse in Scarborough at Signal Hill will not be the nurse in Roxborough. The doctor may not be the same doctor, but he may go from place to place. The technician in the lab in Roxborough will not be the technician in Couva or in Mount Hope. So every one of these facilities that we build, to the satisfaction of the people who demand them. I heard this morning, this afternoon, the people of Eastern Tobago say, yes, we want this hospital. Yes, we are supporting the project. What they are also saying, we are supporting an expansion in the healthcare delivery and additional healthcare givers on the public payroll. That's what it is. Be paid for. So the budget of this year, 2019, that catered for healthcare delivery without Couva and without Point Fortin, the next budget of 2020 will have to cater for and be expanded for. And by the time we finish building this building and building Sangre Grande, a significant increase in the number of nurses, the number of doctors, the number of technicians that work in the system automatically have to come on the payroll. And that is where good jobs are being created, good careers are being established, and that is how you expand the economy with good jobs. But you have to make sure that at the end of the month, the check is there to pay for those whom you have hired. And that is why these are not isolated instances of public policy. They are part of a larger whole. Early in the career of this government, existing approvals for taxation. I'm not talking about other tax here, other tax there. If we have laws, we set about that tax is not being collected. Because somewhere or the other, citizens have found a way to be liable for those taxes and have not been paying them 40%. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't have it both ways. We cannot have it both ways. We cannot be demanding the kind of service that Secretary Agatha Carrington spoke about a while ago, that we are bringing here to you, the people of Roxborough and Speyside and Lansford, bringing it to your backyard, to your neighborhood. We cannot expect to have that and at the same time have people who are liable for taxes and find a way to evade those taxes permanently. And that is why, as we look at it, it's nothing new. It's something that we know about all the time. But what do we do about it? We set about to bring about an improvement in the tax collection institutional arrangements in the country. We've been advised, and we agree with the advice, that what we need is an improvement on the current Board of Inland Revenue arrangements, which have in some instances facilitated the loss of that revenue I just mentioned. And we said the way to do that is to have a revenue authority, an authority which is structured and facilitated and populated with persons with the skills and the authority to go there and improve on that tax collection. So we don't, at the end of each year, leave 40% of what is due to the exchequer out in the field. There are those who, from up front, say, we're not supporting that. Because one, they've put it across to you incorrectly as though it is a new tax. It is not. It is a collection improvement. And two, there are those who believe that it can be funded in some other way. And of course, there are those who believe it sounds good to oppose it because it's good politics. Well, let me tell you what we're going to do. We will proceed, as we are doing today, to build these facilities. We will proceed to populate them in the confidence that we should be able to have the revenue in this country to be able to pay for them. And if we are wrong, a day will come when we'll have them on the payroll, we'll have the facilities here, and we can't pay for them, and those who are supposed to pay the tax would laugh at us and go to somebody else's country and use the healthcare facility there. You will have to decide which side you're on. We have confidence that we will be able to collect the revenues. But when you look at what has happened with the property tax, there are those who are confident that they could block it and prevent it from happening. We are the only country in the world, only country in the Western democratic world and elsewhere in the world where people pay zero property tax and want everything possible in the form of services. Want more police on the street, want more firemen in the station, want more mosquitoes killed, want more this, want more that, want more that, and paying zero property tax. Since that started, this country has lost to persons who are liable for those taxes to over $4 billion. That is no way to run a country. Over $4 billion left out there. And what is more interesting, there were people who had lined up to pay that tax. But the politicians who could influence the system used their influence in the political arena to prevent that tax from being collected. And I could tell you, we could do with $4 billion. But that's gone. And with every passing year, another few $100 million will go. We cannot go on this way. If we are also gone with a vision that Roxboro will have a hospital like this, and that Point Fortin will have a modern hospital, and that Arima will have a hospital that they've clamored for, and that Cuba, that hospital, will become a leading light in the region, not just for Trinidad and Tobago, but for the region, providing with the University of the West Indies cutting-edge technology in medical care delivery to serve our nation and the rest of the region. It has to be paid for. And as we do that, we look at how the revenues come in. You know our major revenues come in from the oil and gas sector. And that is why the government has spent so much time and effort working in the last 2 years to ensure that those revenues are available to us. And that is why we have restructured our own hydrocarbon industry with respect to petrotrin restructuring. So instead of losing $2 billion a year attempting to refine oil, we have gone now more heavily into the production of oil and selling crude oil rather than losing money selling oil from a refinery. That's why we put our refinery up. Lease it, rent it, sell it to somebody who will use it. Because we need, as Max Secondos will say, we need the money. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, if we behave well, if we think clearly, if we have the right attitude, the future of Trinidad and Tobago is a bright one. If we invest in what is good for the people, our future is a bright one. If we allocate on what the people's interests call for and give priorities in our allocation, and we ensure that there are square pegs and square holes, and every dollar that belongs to the state is spent uncorruptedly, then the future of Trinidad and Tobago is a bright one. I have every confidence that sometime in the not too distant future, I will join you here, God willing, to open, to step into, or to use this facility which is coming your way. Ayana spoke about Roxboro a while ago and her childhood days in Roxboro. I too knew Roxboro when Roxboro was brighter. There was a time when Roxboro had, because of communication, difficulty in communication, Roxboro had to have those services because the services were so far away. But with the improvement of the communication coming east, economically, some people got out of the business that they were in. She talks about when she was a girl. Maybe I can talk about when I was a boy. When I was a boy, Roxboro was a place that the boat used to go to. You didn't know that, eh? When you leave Scarborough to go to Roxboro, you have to take a boat in Scarborough. It was called the Coastal Steamer Survey. One of the boats was the Trinidad and one was called the Tobago. And that boat would come from Trinidad with our supplies. It will offload in Scarborough. It will then take off up to Mount St. George, the Studley Park, then up the road. I think it came into Goldsboro, somewhere in Goldsboro, Pembroke, up to Belgarden, to Roxboro, to Speyside, to Charlottesville, round to the Bloody Bay, to Castara, to Plymouth, and back to Scarborough. That was our transportation system. Now, who's going to do that if the Claude Noel Highway allows you to drive from the airport all the way to John Dial? And if the road is paved all the way to Roxborough? So when you make some improvements in one area, one of the effects it had was to cause outlier industries, outlier small businesses to suffer at the hands of more well-served industries. So there was hardly, they say, a need for a gas station. The bank pulled out because nowadays, even where you have, people go to bank on their phone now. So where they have a bank in Scarborough, that may close too, hopefully not. But people are now banking on your phone. As the technology improves, certain things react in a certain way. But as we bring to the people of Roxborough the services that they must have, which require the infrastructure, those infrastructural things are being put in. Your administrative complex that brings to you public administration. You got a new fire station under construction. You got a new fort next door, which they call a police station. And of course, you're getting your new hospital and an upgrade in your roads. So that period of decline of Roxborough, we are overcoming that. And what we are seeing is a prosperous future. Because as these infrastructural things, including the communication, comes to East, Eastern Tobago has now become one of the most attractive places in Trinidad and Tobago. And what we expect is greater use and greater staying power for the population in this community. Because before, everyone wanted to move out to go where the facilities were available. But as we bring them to you, persons will want to stay in the area, conduct business in the area, build in the area, and have economic in the area. So these facilities give Roxborough and Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago that future. So ladies and gentlemen, a future. Think of a country with a future. See that vision of the boundless faith in our destiny. And at the personal level, do what you have to do. At the community level, do what you have to do. And at the national level, do what you have to do. Trinidad and Tobago will become one of the most well-run countries with a quality of life of which its people can be proud. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much to our Prime Minister for your address and particularly elaborating on the government's development thrust in healthcare delivery in this country to ultimately improve the lives of our citizens, and also the government's commitment to the continued development of Roxborough and Tobago East. We have come to that juncture within our program where we give thanks. And to do this, I invite a member of this community of Roxborough, Mrs. Carolyn Cornwall Williams, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please join me in welcoming her to the lectern.
pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Carolyn Cornwall Williams. I'm a resident of this Tobago East community for the past 35 years. It is with deep gratitude that I say thank you to all those who were responsible for the Roxborough Hospital in coming to fruition. This turning ceremony, I'd like to thank the Honorable Dr. Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of our Twin Island Republic. Thank you for your astute leadership of our country. The Honorable Kelvin Charles, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. I thank you for your leadership of Tobago and ensuring that we, the people of Tobago, are given the opportunity for betterment. Councillor Dr. Agatha Carrington, Secretary of Health and Wellness and Family Development. Thank you for the opportunity to give our suggestions on this project and the assurance that we will be informed of every step of the process. And yes, the ball is in